Think. Act. And prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey, welcome back to the Money Level Show. It is Daryl Dominic, and today we are going to think, act, and prosper. So we are going to tap in. So today I just want to talk about a couple of things. You know, right now we are in the midst of a election. We don't know if it's going to be a contested election, and I assume that may be the case or whatnot because of how close it is. But I want to talk about some post-election strategies and how you should look at what policies each candidate is trying to implement and how that is going to affect certain investment categories. So the first thing I'm looking at is Joe Biden. Joe Biden wants to implement a lot of things revolving around clean energy, green energy, and all of this space that is very trendy right now because of global warming and all of those things. So thinking about that, you know, I have to go into the market and look at, okay, what kind of businesses focus on these types of things? So me personally, I'm looking at, you know, certain energy stocks, electricity stocks, all of those different things because of this whole movement around green energy and this whole movement around, clean energy and cleaning the earth and all of that. Another thing, you know, I think about is, you know, Tesla and the demand for electric vehicles that is really skyrocketing really high. A lot of people are interested in electric vehicles. California came out and said they want 80 to 85% of their vehicles by 2030 to be electric. And so when you think about this space, you have to really think creatively. Okay, well, the Tesla stock, a lot of people have speculated and ran into that stock and drove that stock, and it's overvalued. A lot of these tech stocks and these, you know, stocks are overvalued. And so I have to think creatively, okay, so what does Tesla need to make a vehicle? When you think of what they need batteries, right? So going into the market as an investor, I'm looking at lithium stocks. Lithium and nickel, because those are what the batteries need. Silver is also something that you want to look into because silver is something that could be used when they improve more of these electric, charging stations, and Joe Biden wants to implement a lot of those. All of those different things. Solar panels have silver in them. And so you have to think, okay, what ingredients or what commodity do these things need in order to function or in order to do well? So in regards to Joe Biden, I'm looking at a lot of these clean energy stocks because they're very cheap. Most of the professional investors that are actually successful in the market, they run away from the stocks that everyone else is running to. So they already sold off the Teslas, the Microsofts, and the Apples and the Amazons and all of that. And everybody else is piling into those stocks, driving those valuations and those prices up. And the wealthy actually go to the cheap stocks. Okay, what are the stocks that people aren't paying attention to? And this goes back to the Great Depression. That is what happened in the Great Depression. The wealthy were getting the stocks at like $5. Once they opened the market up to the public were starting to pile into these stocks and these companies, and they would drive these companies up to about $40. And the rich would have already been sold off by then. So the rich sells off, and then the stocks crash. The stocks crash because it's just overvalued. Thinking like that, okay, well, the wealthy are running into other stocks that people aren't thinking about. This electric vehicle space it's taken off. A lot of companies are actually wanting to get involved. I think Ford's trying to make an electric truck. You got an electric van. You know, you have an electric vehicle company in China that's taken off called NIO or whatnot. So when you think about that stuff, it's like, okay, well, this is the demand. The demand is for electric vehicles, but they are going to need lithium batteries in order to function. Okay, so why not buy lithium, which is actually very scarce, and drive that price up? People are going to pile in and drive that price up because right now, not a lot of people are thinking about it. So lithium stocks is something that I've been paying attention to. So when I'm thinking of Joe Biden, I'm thinking about these types of things, when the policies that he's trying to implement. On the other hand, you have Trump. So, with Trump, Trump's a little more, old school. So you think of oil and things like that when you think of kind of the Republicans and this whole debate around green energy and spending 100 trillion and all of this stuff, so I'm kind of staying up on that because these policies is what is going to, determine how these stocks do and how these companies do. So in regards to Trump, I believe that it still needs a space for green energy because that is going towards the future, or say, quote unquote, the future. And then you also have the demand for electric vehicles. That's not going anywhere. Biden's going to put more money behind that. So I would put more focus in those categories. But Trump isn't going to put as much focus behind that. And so I'll have to think about that as well. When I think about Trump, I think about, old school, Republican, conservative. So I think of like the companies like the oil stocks. The oil stocks have been hammered since the beginning of the pandemic because oil has stopped a lot of production from happening. A lot of trucks weren't importing, exporting. A lot of boats weren't doing that. A lot of planes weren't flying, all of those different things. And so when you think about that, the oil stocks have been beaten up and they are super cheap and they pay a good dividend. So I'm looking at the oil stocks like, nobody's going to this arena right here. Everybody's running towards the Teslas, the Microsofts, and all of those stocks. Let me go over to the oil stocks while they are cheap. Let me invest my money here for the long term. I'm not going to be a trader. I mean, if I was going to be a trader, I would go to the stocks that everybody else is running to, make my money, get out the game. But since I'm more of a long-term holder and looking in the future, it's like, people are always going to need oil. Solar panels need oil, and I say that because of we have mining, you have mining that need to get done. You have tractors that need oil for the mining. You have the importing and exporting of products, importing, exporting of materials, whether that's on semi-trailers, semi-trucks, boats, trains, planes, all of that. So oil is always going to be needed when you factor this stuff in. And so the oil stocks are really cheap right now because they've been beaten up and oil took a huge dive. They pay really good dividends. Right now I'm looking at a company that pays a 10% dividend and the stock is only $30. Okay, so how much was the stock pre-pandemic? The stock before the pandemic was actually around $130. And so when you look at that, you're like, this is really cheap then. Let me go ahead and buy these up. Other stocks I'm looking into is gold and silver because gold and silver has always done good in inflationary environments. And I believe that we're going to have inflation down the line, more inflation. I mean, we've already seen prices of groceries, healthcare, school, all those things. We've seen those skyrocket over the years. Housing, we've seen those skyrocket, but we haven't seen the inflation based off the Federal Reserve's definition, which is like the electronics, the TVs, and all of that type of stuff. So we're going to see more inflation coming down the line because the Federal Reserve has to inflate the debt away. And right now we're in 27 trillion worth of debt, and that has to go away somewhere. So it usually goes away through inflation tax, in which they devalue the dollar so that they're paying the debt down with cheaper dollars instead of paying the debt down with dollars that are more expensive that have more value. So you have to look at those types of things whenever you're getting into this space and kind of thinking of like, what am I going to invest in post-election? What am I going to invest in? And so those are just some things that I just wanted to share today. I mean, today's a pretty short podcast. I do believe that, that whoever wins this election, we should really look at jumping into some of these commodity stocks, gold, silver, lithium, oil, gas, electricity, all those different things, because those are the stocks that people are not thinking about. Those are the stocks that people are not going to. People are going to the overvalued companies that and are paying way more than those companies are worth when you do the valuations of the companies and stuff. And so I'm going to do a whiteboard video on how to kind of look at a company and how do you determine if this company is a good buy or whatnot. I'm going to do that here in the near future. And so definitely be on the lookout for that. I appreciate you all listening in. I just want to tell you guys to be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be sure to follow me on social medias, Instagram and Twitter, Money Level Show at Money Level Show. And then Facebook is The Money Level Show. So be sure to tap in with me. I have some more interviews coming up. I'm interviewing a CFP, a certified financial planner, a consultant who does business and works with people on building businesses and things like that. So I have some interviews coming up of some people that have, some skills that you may be interested in. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. I mean, I've already interviewed a CPA, about taxes and things like that. So I want to provide things that you guys can use. So be sure to email me if you have any topics you want me to discuss or anything that you want me to address. And I'm going to be doing some free giveaways. I just really need you guys' support. I would love to hear from you all. So be sure to follow me on social media, subscribe to YouTube, drop comments, reply to emails, things like that. So I appreciate you all for joining the Money Level Show today, and y'all have a blessed day.